Can you please discuss health and how to reverse your digestion issue on the next stream? I'm currently
Mm-hmm.
dealing with some health issues, excess
Mm-hmm.
mucus, sinus issues, and sugar sensitivity affecting my eyes. Would love to hear your take on what you implement to help yourself. Thank you, Dara. Thank you, Dara.
Wow. The last line, sugar sensitivity affecting my eyes. This is indicative of either prediabetes or full-blown diabetes,
Fuck.
because issues with eyesight is telltale signs of insulin resistance and or full-blown diabetes. But let's presume that this person or patient in this case has gone to his doctor and he is not yet diagnosed with full-blown diabetes. And depending on the diagnostic criteria, one doctor may say you're pre-diabetic, another doctor will say you're basically a diabetic. But for all intents and purposes, without knowing more about this person, because I would need to, see some lab work, photos, have more of a in-depth discussion with this person, I'll presume that he's suffering some cluster symptoms that many people do who have metabolic dysfunction. And I'll just quickly define what that means. Within our criteria, it means high blood pressure, lipid issues, okay, namely high ApoB and also triglycerides out of whack, high waist circumference, insulin resistance, meaning your fasting insulin is too high, as well as some other diagnostic criteria within that bucket, meaning high HbA1c, and you fail a glucose tolerance test, as well as the fact that you have some NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now, those 5 would make up that criteria, but you only need 3 out of the 5 to define that person with metabolic dysfunction. And oftentimes we do see 3 out of the 5 because they sort of go hand in hand, like spaghetti and the meatballs. And unfortunately, unlike spaghetti and the meatballs, these things go hand in hand and they don't taste good. And so if you are this person, you will start to suffer these cluster symptoms. They can be low energy, low mood, issues with eyesight, even tingling in the hands and feet, depression, anxiety, sleep disruption, low libido, all of the symptoms of malaise meaning just I don't feel quite well, can come about as a result of having metabolic dysfunction. And digestive issues can also be one. But the good news is, despite you having so many symptoms or possibly having so many symptoms, the cure is all the same. Fix the metabolic dysfunction, the digestion fixes, the energy fixes, the libido fixes, all of it fixes. And all of a sudden you think, you know what? I wasn't sick with 100 different things. I had one thing that needed to be fixed and I felt like 100 things got better. So that's the good news, okay? And just about everyone I know that isn't living close to optimally is suffering more than one thing. And I often ask them, I say, your digestive issues, are you also suffering a bit of low mood or you've got energy issues? And they say, yeah, I actually am. Not a coincidence. So what I want this patient here to do, although he's not my patient, is I am suggesting for this person to correct the boring fundamentals. Do a sleep study. Send us your sleep study report. Get us some lab work. Total testosterone, estradiol, iron studies, fasting insulin, fasting glucose, cystatin C, LFTs, full blood count, high sensitivity CRP, vitamin D, and that just about sums it up, as long as you also get some lipids, preferably ApoB and little PA. Now, that's enough for me to get a decent picture. And in the interim, man, get lean. I know this one sounds like a broken record, but if you can't see your abs, you're too fat and you are on your way to metabolic dysfunction. Whether you're skinny fat or you're just fat, you're too fat. So get lean, get us a sleep study. And this, in 99 out of 100 cases, will dissolve these symptoms, especially with regards to the eyesight and the cluster symptoms that you may be feeling with digestion and low energy. So without knowing a lot more about this patient and without providing medical advice, which I can't do legally, I'd say these suggestions are broad and good advice all around.
So go and get your blood sugar checked, basically. Go and start investigating.
All of those lab markers, because unfortunately, that one snapshot of fasting insulin is just that snapshot in time. Meaning, if you got fasting insulin checked today, it could be different tomorrow, and different after a meal, and different 8 hours after a meal, and 16 hours after a meal. But if you give me that full blood panel, it provides me with enough data to ballpark decent guesses on what's actually going on. And 9 times out of 10, a decent enough physician or someone like me who's up with it will understand what's going on. And whether you look at this fortunately or unfortunately, because a lot of people don't want to change their lifestyle intervention usually is enough. Sometimes it's not. Medications are needed, especially when it comes to older patients. So people that are just a little bit too far gone, unfortunately. The kidneys are suffering. The pancreas is just like, mate, I'm checking out soon. And or when it comes to LPA, which is genetic. So very few instances where lifestyle can't, help with most of this, but sometimes medical intervention is necessary. And we can always handball these guys off to a licensed physician, Dr. Andrew Wingy, who knows a hell of a lot more about this stuff than me.
But I would say you know a hell of a lot more than the average doctor.
Yeah, the average doctor, if you have a look at the curriculum, even in Western Australia, they touch on certain topics. And unfortunately, without a personal interest in holistic medicine and modern medicine, not enough is learned during that degree, unfortunately. Yeah.
It's not, is it?
No.
It's so bad. So bad.
It is what it is. It is the feminization of an industry, as well as the fact that, telling people to change their lifestyle is not profitable, number one. And number two, telling people to change their lifestyle and they won't change it, which is actually the main problem, is the biggest issue. I mean, if you provide a patient with a prescription and that prescription is to change their diet and then they don't and then they die, well, you are somewhat liable for not prescribing them the medication that, although is a cheap Band-Aid that doesn't get to the root cause and can have side effects of its own and dangers of its own, at least you cover your ass as a physician. Much like modern day psychiatry, think about the role or the objective of a modern day Western psychiatrist. Number one, ensure the patient doesn't harm himself or someone else. If you tell them to change their lifestyle, then they go away after their session and either kill themselves or kill someone else. You are liable as a psychiatrist because as you assess their symptoms, you diagnose them within a criteria that required medication because you feared that that patient were going to potentially harm themselves or someone else, therefore making you liable for a potential death, whether it be a homicide or a suicide. So you're covering yourself first as a physician and you're helping a patient second. And unfortunately, the two do not go together oftentimes, like spaghetti and the meatballs.